smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life.
Oh, I'm frozen. Hold on. All right, so if you guys can hear me, I don't know why every time I start, it freezes on me. So I'm gonna let it come back and then I'm gonna start talking. Let me see. Let's try this. All right, we're back. So, hi, beautiful people. So, if this is your first time in my podcast, thank you so much for being here. My name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. I come on, I talk to people who are doing things to empower the lives of others by sharing their story. And the whole goal behind me coming on here is to help you shift the way you think. So, I've been podcasting since 2018 of July. So, I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary, which is so exciting. And I've been able to talk to some amazing people who are doing amazing things. And I can't begin to tell you how many times people have reached out, whether they've like gone to get support, therapy, these aha enlightenment moments just from literally hearing someone else's story, which is so amazing. So I'm just so grateful that I have the opportunity to do this. So if you are not following me on any social media platforms, hey, Periscope, I see you, Periscope, Facebook, or YouTube, all you got to do is search Celeste the Therapist, even though Periscope's about to be off soon. They're getting rid of Periscope, but I'm still streaming live. I can't believe it's been 3 years either. That's crazy. So yeah, I'm just really excited about that. So I'm going to bring on my special guest, and I'm currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. But I'm going to bring on my special guest now. I'm going to add them to the stream. I was going to say I'm going to add him. But I get to see your brother. I'll have you introduce yourself. Rashawn, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, my name is Deshaun Middleton. I live here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a behavior specialist, crisis counselor for Alexander Youth Network. And I work in many different parts of the different departments as far as foster care placement, intensive care, intensive home, and then PRN. So just pretty much all around the agency, wherever I can fit in, and that's pretty much where I'll go and help these kids out. Mostly work with kids between the ages of 3 to 18, just to depend on the department down there.
That's dope. You ain't mentioned Dream the Impossible.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely the vice president. I know he normally gonna bring it up, so I let him.
He's just gonna. Nah, we start with you. You're part of it too. You wouldn't be if you weren't part of it. All right, Doug, we're gonna introduce you to my audience, please.
I guess if I had to introduce myself, my name is Doug Middleton. I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Went to Appalachian State. Double back there. Got a degree in political science and got another degree in Masters of Public Administration. Just finished my 5th year in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very dedicated mental health advocate and president and CEO of Dream the Impossible.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So one of the things that I do a lot of times, like you have this amazing organization that you have, but a lot of times people don't understand how people started or why they started. Yeah. I think sometimes people may have this false narrative that it just kind of happened and it came that way. So I kind of want to help walk people through your story, if that's okay with you.
For sure.
So are you from North Carolina?
We both, yeah. So this is like my real true brother. Like we grew up in the same house. Like we're only 18 months apart, same mom and dad.
Oh, y'all gave y'all parents problems. I can't. My kids are 18 months apart.
We definitely gave them a few problems and stuff. But I mean, we ended up going into good people.
It all ended up working out.
Okay, so when you think about the South, because I lived in the South, as we was talking about earlier for a little bit, it's very country, but also it's very religious.
Yeah.
And I also don't think that mental health is something that is really talked about as much in the South. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's a great representation of how the South sees it. If I can just open up, with how I kind of got Dream Impossible started, I'm gonna definitely get, to the point you're trying to make right there about mental health in the South. So pretty much, me and my brother, my friend AJ Morrison, we all grew up in the same neighborhood on the same street. And my mom has worked in the mental health space, for the last 15 years. She has a master's degree, master's in social work. We all know a little bit about mental health, and it's all something that we've kind of heard and had conversations about. But just to tell the people, it's a lot different, once you experience it yourself compared to something that you just read about or hear about and hear other people's opinions about. So, my best friend AJ, like I said, went to elementary school together, went to middle school together. We just shared a lot of memories that, not most people have. High school together. It's been my best friend since the age of 6. And AJ started, we started to take different, career paths and different paths through life. And during that time, AJ started to suffer from some trauma. He had a traumatic event that really kind of altered his life a little bit, and he started to suffer from severe depression. And at that time, when he's suffering from severe depression, I'm not really knowing what to do. The only really, top contact or resource that I have is my brother, my mom. My brother wasn't in the position that he's in right now yet. So I'm asking her about all the things that I can do to help him out. And, we're trying to help him find a counselor, trying to help him find the resources that he needs to, really just find peace and purpose in life. I think that's what we all are looking for. And it just got to the point, where AJ wasn't happy. AJ wasn't, he didn't feel like himself. And, I was talking to some kids at the recovery school that we have in Charlotte. It's called Emerald School of Excellence. And they were just talking about how the toughest thing for them is finding peace and purpose. I think that's when people can really realize that they're happy is when they find a purpose in life and that they feel like they're accomplishing something. And, AJ couldn't find that. And so I found a couple therapists for him, but it never seemed to really work. And then, going into my second year in the league, AJ suffered a death by suicide. And that definitely hit me pretty hard. And at the time, I really didn't understand it. I didn't know I didn't know what was going on. I knew he was suffering, but at the same time, I didn't know how to make, the story right. I didn't know what I could do to transition and make his life continue to live on. So at the time, going into your story about how the religion in the South, we have his funeral. I flew home for his funeral, and I get up and I speak. His mom asked me to speak about our relationship, and I just told people about the type of person that AJ was, and how depression really took his life, like just altered like everything in his life, and it was something that he wasn't able to kind of overcome. And I spoke about a few quotes in the Bible, and I spoke about how it takes faith and therapy, or faith and working with these mental health experts, or working with a pastor and working with somebody who has that background, to maybe listen to the correct way instead of listening only to a pastor.
This is you talking at his funeral, right? You're talking at his funeral.
Yeah, so this is me talking at his funeral, and I'm trying to speak to his people. I'm trying to speak to somebody who may be in the crowd going through the same things he was going through, because as people, as African Americans, we all kind of go through some of the same similar things. I mean, it's mainly because of the history that we have and how we got to this country, and a lot of those things affect us, and going through that, like saying what I had to say at his funeral. As soon as I got done, the pastor, he just gets up there and he's like, yeah, that's, what he said was cool, but I don't really feel that way. Like pretty much kind of denouncing everything that I was saying, like pretty much saying that the only thing you needed to do was bring your issues to the church, bring your burdens to the church and just pray about it on the altar, or have a conversation with him, as the pastor, and it was all gonna go away just like that. And so, like, you know, when he said that, it kind of really hit me hard because it's like these pastors, you know, my grandma, like her pastor is like, besides God, like she look up to him as like the greatest, great hope. You know what I'm saying? Like he, you know, so every time I got an issue or anything, she telling me to like call her pastor. I'm like, Grandma, it's not my pastor. Like I don't, you know, I know him a couple of times, but there's other people that are professionals at what they do. There's counselors, there's therapists, there's psychologists. There's other people that are good at what they do besides just this pastor. And so like that's just how, you know, the South is, you know, that's how it is down here. And it's starting to change. I feel like the stigma is starting to change a little bit, but I just remember after his funeral, people walking up to me and just like grabbing me like this, like, hey, like I'm suffering too. Like, hey, like I'm
wow.
Like I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get help. Like I don't know the resources that I need to use. And then so, you know, of course, like I said, I was reporting for my second NFL training camp like the next day. I think I flew out right after the funeral. And I get up there and it's like I'm filled with so many emotions. But at the same time, I didn't know what to do because it's like right now football is kind of my priority. So I didn't know I wasn't in a creative space to be thinking about how I can figure out a way to kind of honor him.
You were in the NFL. You were in the NFL by this time,
right? Yeah,
or
yeah.
you were in college. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was starting my second year in the NFL with the New York Jets. So I did my first year with the Jets, and then I did some time with Miami, and now with Jacksonville. So I get up there for training camp, and I'm like, all focus is on football. You know, AJ's in the front of my mind, and I'm trying to honor him by just playing on the field. And then maybe the first preseason game, I was having a great camp. I get injured, had a season-ending injury. And then so after the surgery, I remember just sitting at the table, like maybe just a couple of days out of surgery, just Googling like mental health, Googling this, Googling that, like any ideas related to mental health. And it connected me with the NAMI High Country, which was, you know, where the school that I was going to at the time at Appalachian State. So I met with the people that ran that organization like the next day. And I just told them my story and I just told them how I felt. And the first thing they said to me, and they said, you know, the thing that you have that a lot of other people don't have is you have a story. And that story will take you farther than, you know, a lot of other things in life. And, you know, once he told me that, he kind of gave me the blueprint a little bit of what to do, like some of the people with resources I can start reaching out to kind of get my story out there a little bit more and just tell people like, you know, about our friendship and not only that, our brotherhood and how I tried to handle the situation, you know, compared to how we try to handle the situation now. And it just kind of took off from there. That's when, like a month later, I called.
Can I just ask Deshaun really quick? Deshaun, yeah, because Deshaun is he the younger one?
Yeah, he's the younger one.
I know. I can tell. Don't worry, Deshaun. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna speak up for you.
I was about to get to one point. I was going to stop.
Deshaun, I know, and I want to finish the Dream the Impossible, like how it kind of rolled out, because to start something from scratch is not easy at all. But as far as you know, when this happens and your brother passionately speaks at the funeral, you're there, and the pastor says what he says, what goes on in your mind about that? Because you are friends with AJ as well, so you understood where Doug was coming from.
Yeah, actually, I guess for myself, I would definitely say it did hit me a little bit different. Just given that how I kind of grew up with my brother, with my family. The biggest thing is that it takes a village to raise a child. So there's always people around you that's guiding you, but sometimes when you're around those people, it's very hard to open up and to express yourself because you don't know how it will come across to them. Like everyone has their own view, everybody has their own perspective upon what they say, what they feel. So the way you view things may not be the same as, you know, I view things. So when it came to that and what he said, it kind of did hit home because, you know, at that time, like not a lot of people know, but I mean, everyone's suffering in their own special way. It's not to, you know, to point anyone out, but everyone does. It just may be, you know, to me, good days, maybe low days, but in some shape or form, we have, you know, negative thoughts, but you have to replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So during that time, I was still in college. I was actually going into my junior year at Norfolk State University. during my junior year for football. So, I mean, after the funeral, I'm gonna be real with you. I called my coach, told him that I had pretty much quit. I wasn't going to return to school. And he actually was like, no, like, we're not going to do that. He ended up coming down and just sitting with me, talking with me. And I ended up returning back to school. And, you know, just the system around you was a very big thing for me because obviously I was 5 hours, almost 6 hours away from home from my parents. And then, you know, obviously my brother was in New York. He's in the middle of the season. I'm in the middle of the season. So to go through that transition of both of us kind of went straight into camp for this, it was definitely a little, you know, hit in the chest. It was a little blow. And he handled it better than I did. I was a wreck. I was a mess. But, you know, just had that supporting staff around you to help you.
I think I lost you guys. Hold on. Deshaun, you said he handled it different than you did. Is that what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, it broke up a little bit. That's why I was a little delay. Now, when he starts talking about, you know, he wants to do something with mental health, because I'm sure he brought this vision to you. What were you thinking about that when he starts to bring this vision to you?
I thought it was a great idea because at that time, my degree is in social work. So I knew for a certain that I was definitely going to help people. I knew my struggles throughout life and getting in trouble and, you know, dealing with certain things. So I always knew that my purpose in life was to give back no matter what. So when he brought the vision to me, I was very supportive and just saying, hey, like, these are the things that we can do. I kind of looked at things from a street perspective. So I always like encourage him to be like, hey, like, you know, if you make this certain move, then just know that this is how it's going to play out. So that's kind of the road that I go from there. So I was very supportive.
Oh, okay. Now you meet with NAMI. They connect you with some people, Doug, right? After you meet with NAMI, they connect you with some people. I'm sure the adrenaline's going. You're ready to start this. What's the next move that you make after you meet with NAMI?
Yeah, so I met with NAMI, and then the next move that I made was Brandon Marshall. I was on the Jets at the time, and Brandon Marshall's a huge mental health advocate. And I really just gave him a call, and I said, you know, I told him my story. I told him what had happened. And he was just like, listen, bro, like, you know, you can just, you know, come start doing stuff, you know, with my organization. That's, you know, if that's what you want to do, like if that's what you have the passion for. And so I was like, all right, you know, and then I prayed about it. And then so we did like the first event we did, like I didn't even have like Dream Impossible, it was just an idea, but it really wasn't, you know, in fruition like that. And then I figured out that so many people like had gravitated towards the idea and wanted to help and felt like, you know, they want to play a part in it. Like after we threw our first event, I was like, well, maybe, and I seen all the red tape I had to go through, you know, working with his organization compared to like, I got these ideas, like, why can't I just do them, you know? And so I was like, you know, maybe we just need to start our own thing. And then that's how, you know, kind of Dream Impossible popped off.
Wow, that's crazy. So, but being a part of Brandon Marshall's stuff gave you an eye opener on the possibilities on what you can do for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Because
and then
I seen like all the different things that, you know, Project 375, like his organization had going on. And I was like, you know, that's definitely something that I want to be able to get to one day. And so just working with them and trying to learn as much as I could. It was only like a short amount of time. I was just really working with them through that first event. The first event that we did, you know, it's called the Let Your Light Shine celebration. We do it every year. We're just trying to figure out now, like how to
deal with, you know, dealing with COVID.
Yeah, because it's tough to kind of maneuver through it. Like the first year, we had maybe about 20 kids. You know, it was the first event, and we brought them all. Like we asked them every single kid like what they wanted for Christmas, and like a lot of them wanted shoes or like Xboxes and, you know, different things like that. That was cool. Like, you know, we got all that stuff for them, and we fed them. And then, you know, we had my friend Rashawn Miller come speak to them about mental health. And the parents.
Oh yeah, Rashawn's from North Carolina. Yeah. Okay.
I got a ton of stories about Rashawn. We can talk about that and like
he's dope.
So then I'm talking, you know, I'm talking to the kids, and Rashawn's talking to the kids about mental health. and then we give.
Oh, just for a side note for people, Rashawn Miller is a mental health advocate. He's a therapist, and he's very, very outspoken about mental health and his struggles that he's had. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we do the event, and then so at the end of the event,
we had a young lady that actually it's one of our, so like, because I remember the story because actually the lady who brought the young lady was my counselor for school in high school. So she had brought this young lady to us, and at the beginning of this, it pretty much was she wasn't considering college, she wasn't considering anything. She had a rough patch. One of the things that she had asked for was if she can get a blow-up mattress for her younger brother. So that really like kind of touched us, kind of, spoke to us. So, obviously we provided those things for her and actually like helped her out. So during those times of helping her out, by the end of the ceremony, by the end of the event, she had came up to us saying how excited she was just to apply for school and just how she saw such a brighter future. And then even now to this day, like I still speak with my counselor from high school. She's doing very well in college, has a 3.5, so she's doing real good. So yeah, that's one of our, that's pretty much what we do the foundation for, is to help those people kind of, anytime that you feel as if your voice goes unheard, because a lot of people don't understand that when you're dealing with a mental health issue, is that sometimes they just feel as if their voice isn't heard. They feel as if like they're not being seen enough, they're not being around enough. And sometimes those things may take away. So just by us even being in the room, just by listening, sometimes silence speaks more than what you know. By you being in the room, just giving your advice, giving your experience, actually kind of directing them, it can go a long way in helping out. So it's part of what we do with Let Your Light Shine. That's what we try to do with these kids. Each year we got better. We got bigger, we got better. We actually brought in some people to actually, educate them on the financial side, because that's a big way to impact people's lives also. So it's something that
the way we try to like handle like our big annual event is like I tried to look at some of the risk factors that contributed like to having a mental health illness. And one of the things that that really stuck out was like financial hardship, and a lot of our people suffer from that. And I felt like if I brought somebody in that could educate our people on how to make better financial decisions, or so I had my financial advisor come and speak, another African American male, and he just had the kids amazing there, and the kids and the parents and stuff, because like a lot of them, they all buy Jordans, they all buy Nikes and stuff, but then when you explain to them, what a Jordan, a Jordan shoe or a Nike shoe is versus buying a Nike, a Nike stock, how many of these Jordan shoes do you wear and then you throw them away? Versus if you would have had the same shoe that, put the same amount of money that you put on the shoe, now it's worth this. 10 years later, compared to the shoe, you don't even know where it's at. So just stuff like that. And then the biggest thing that we do is we bring in a group of people like that are all African Americans, and they work in different spaces. They may be a lawyer, they may be a doctor, they may be a teacher, they may be, just something that they don't have access to. I feel like some of our people they only see like, the athletes or the rappers or like, the drug dealers. Like that's the majority of the things that they're exposed to. But if we change that exposure, who knows what what career path they would choose to go. So, just trying to bring other successful people from other career paths in, to really show them what they can be. And that's what, Dreaming Impossible really is. It's like dreaming impossible. For me, making it to the NFL, it seemed like something that was pretty much impossible. Like people was telling me I wouldn't even, have made it to Appalachian State. I didn't go to a big school. I wasn't even drafted. And then, 5 years later, I'm still here. So that's what it means to these kids is finding something that people, a lot of people may tell you that's impossible, showing them that it's possible. It's true.
That's good. One of the things I want to say is that what you guys are doing, you can still hear me, right? I recognize that I'm a little slow. Okay. What you guys are doing is you are giving people language to help talk about what they're dealing with by providing the education. Like I think about the funeral and how people came and talked to you after the event, and you gave them words that they didn't even know how to say. And that's like a powerful thing. And the other thing is that and that's one of the things I say is that unfortunately a lot of people, Black people, we only think that way we make money is sports, music, because that's what we see. And we don't really get to see people in other arenas that are successful and they don't have to perform. So I think that, having... Mm-hmm.
I ain't mean to cut you off. I just want to add one point to that because, like, I literally hate talking about like football. I literally hate saying like identifying myself as a football player. I think that's what we're working on the most now is working with college athletes and professional athletes and helping them figure out how to identify themselves outside of just being an athlete. Because you're not going to play this game for the rest of your life. You're not going to play football for the rest of your life. What do you have when it's gone? Like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to, find purpose in your life after the game that you've played your whole life since you was, a little kid, now it's gone, and how do you readjust from that?
Exactly, because for a lot of athletes, when you are having to adjust to the real world, that's a big transition. So after playing so long with football, and then you just kind of come home and it's like, okay, where's your direction at? So now we're in a transition of allowing these athletes to know their voice, to know their statutes, to know where they are, and to use the platform that they have now while in college to be able to be like, okay, you need to venture out and see X, Y, Z, because you have to know that eventually this will come to an end. It don't matter if you're already at 43 or if you're just a young kid around 20, it's eventually going to come to an end. So you have to know how to adjust and to go ahead and set your life up from there, because if not, I'm not gonna lie to you, like if not, like, depression does set in, likely thoughts do set in. So you just have to know how to kind of gain that, how to be aware of that, and just know your surroundings, know who you're around, and know who you're going to be.
That support group is the biggest thing. Like, I think, as athletes, we just built off of structure. We built off of routines. We built off of doing the same thing every day. Like as soon as we get thrown off a routine, like sometimes, some people can't adjust. And, when you don't have that same structure and routine, you're out in the real world, you're not playing a sport, or you're not, doing whatever you're doing, it's tough to really adjust to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that people don't even recognize that they can think about something outside of maybe what they've been exposed to, which is where, like, for me, Dream the Impossible comes into play. Like, that name alone makes me think that I can go beyond what maybe I thought I can go to. Is that kind of where that thought process came from?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, with every picture I post on my IG, like, my hashtag is always Dream the Impossible, because I sometimes, like, I really wake up sometimes thinking, like, I can't believe the life that I'm living. Like, it really feels like it was something that was, like, impossible. Like, I can't tell you how many people, like, told me they could only see me achieving this, or like they could only think I can only do this. Like, well, people trying to tell me what college to go to. Like, I can really see that for you, or like, I don't know if you should, maybe go for the NFL. Like, maybe you should do this. Like, how you gonna tell me what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got dreams of my own. Like, I got goals of my own, and that's kind of what Dream the Impossible is. Like, a lot of the things that people may put a cap or a limit on in your life, like, forget that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to, as long as you dream and believe it, and God matches up with that, anything is possible.
Yes, I love that. Now, you said that usually you have an annual event. You're trying to figure out what to do with that. What month do you guys typically have that event?
So we usually have it in February. That's usually the time. So it's usually like
it's normally coming up, but due to COVID, we're actually trying to kind of set in some things now to actually still have the event, but do it in a safe way. I feel as if like the best thing to go with that is just to kind of look at the community, see what they need mostly, and see how we can be assistance to them, and see how we can help them. That'll be the biggest thing.
But some of the things we're doing currently, like I told you, we're working with the Emerald School of Excellence. It's a recovery school, first recovery school in North Carolina. And I kind of like, the thing that I feel like I'm best is like when I come in and I just do like a group therapy, and I just listen. We all just have a conversation where we just talk about things and might talk about how you get where you at, like how do you leverage, either leverage the resources that you have, or either, try to figure out like what's going on and how can these people in this room support you and get you to the next level of your life. So like when you talk about athletes, it's so many of these athletes that may be struggling being on a, primarily like, Caucasian institution, like they're suffering, but everybody else in the room is suffering. So how are you suffering? This person's suffering and y'all not helping each other out. You know what I'm saying? How are y'all not, joining resources together? Or for example, like when you're trying to transition, you playing at a school that's winning 12 games a year at Appalachian State. How are you not hitting up these people that are like some of the biggest donors at the school and like trying to figure out a way that you can do an internship, or you can figure out a way that you can learn more about their career path? That way, so when that game is done, when it finally comes to an end, you'll be able to transition. Those are just some of the, the different things that we're doing, working with Appalachian State student athletes and at the Emerald Recovery School.
You seem like you think ahead. Were you always that way, or is this something that's new for you?
No, he was always that way. He's always action and planning and making sure that things get done the right way. So this isn't new. This is him.
Wow, that's pretty dope.
It really started to hit me. When I had my first season injury in the NFL, and at certain times, like I said, you think football isn't going to end. And that first time I got hurt, I was really concerned and nervous about what I would do after the game of football was over. And I went back to school, got my master's, and ever since that moment, like I knew that I wasn't scared for that day of football to be over to come.
Oh, wait, hold on for a second.
You good now? Thank you. Back muted again. It muted you a little bit.
A lot of it.
Oh, you keep muting yourself.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
No, I see you in the corner right now.
My attention.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you still alive?
Yes, you still alive with me. Got some water. Alcohol water. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to y'all.
So thank you. So even though you've always been this way, for you to start thinking more future oriented about next steps, the season injury really got you into that mindset, really to be like, I got to really think about something different. Because you did go back to school to get your master's, right?
Yeah, that's how it happened. Like the moment after I figured out that I was, injured and out for the season, I called, our dean of students the next day and told them like I wanted to get back into school. I took pretty much.
He wasn't playing.
I took like a day to be like kind of sad about it and stuff, and then I thought about it and I tried to map over the plan. And I called him. I said, "Hey, like I got surgery next week, but like I'm trying to start school like tomorrow." And he was like, "Yo, we can get you in." So he sped it up, got me in and stuff like that. And and then the craziest thing about it is, I finished school that off season, did a semester, and this is when I started to suffer from like kind of my own kind of mental health issues. The next season, I worked my way back from the season in the injury, and then I go through like 7 games. I'm starting a lot of the games, and then I get hurt again, and I'm out for the season again. And then that's when it was really tough for me, because now I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with my time now? Like, I'm really trying to identify myself past a football player, but I can't even get over the fact that no matter how hard I keep trying, I keep having failures. And that's when it really hit me that, I needed to find some way to balance out my passions in different ways.
Yeah. So 2 season injuries, and you still have managed to stay in the NFL, which is amazing.
Yeah. No, that's like kind of unheard of for like to tear back to back in seasons. Like most people, like as undrafted, they would have like just been gave up.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, because me and Doug were on Fox Soul together, and I remember prior to that there was this article that came out by Very Well Mind that did you see it actually?
Yeah.
Okay. that listed like top 10 mental health influences to follow. And Doug was on there. I was on there. What was it like when you seen that article, given the fact that this has been your mission to really talk about mental health and like bring it forth to have it acknowledged in that way?
Man, so let's actually, like, sometimes like me and my brother just sit up, at night talking, or I just talk to my family, or I even talk to AJ's family. And the thing that I say the most is like, I couldn't save AJ, we couldn't save AJ, but I think AJ's story is gonna save way more people than we, than we could have saved, like just keeping him alive. Like his story was, his story may have not hit, people's hearts the same way as it does right now. And I feel like we're able to save so many more people and really get the word out about mental health and how to find resources. And that's what it's really about.
Good. So you were excited about it because it's like,
for sure.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, wow, like all the work that I've been doing is really showing because it's such a passion of mine to really let people know about mental health, especially people of color. And I think when you have somebody like me, you, Rashawn, talking about this stuff, it allows people to be like, oh, look at somebody looks like me talking about it, right? And I see it happening more often than not. And I think that that's how we're going to get the word out, is by continuing to advocate in this way.
Well, you just look at it with the pandemic, it was just so many people are suffering right now mentally. And I feel like, as time goes on, like, I think there's still a gap in the amount of resources that are available right now for people, but I definitely think that the gap is closing, and that's definitely something to be excited about.
Yes. So I want to know, before you both go, I'll start with you, Deshaun. How are you taking care of yourself? Because you actually not only are working with Dream the Impossible, but you actually do this stuff full time. So I know what it's like when you're dealing with different energies. How do you take care of yourself while you're trying to help other people navigate life?
So for myself, mostly, I definitely kind of take a day or two to myself. Sometimes I'm just in my room, just kind of relaxing. But mostly, now that my brother's home, I have my best friend back, so I'm always kind of with him. Right?
Oh, that's so sweet.
It definitely has brought a lot of good energy kind of back. So now I'm a lot better. But I try to do things that I enjoy. Going out with friends or want to get a massage. And just, coloring has really become a big thing for me because, just the way that, you just color and get lost in the picture.
We got that from Rashawn.
Yeah.
I know. I was going to say, Rashawn does that. He does it. Yeah. That's good.
That and just actually, building that network with my coworkers. So outside of, work, being able to actually, because as a therapist, like, you're not always, at liberty to come home and speak about clients. So being able to really be with people that actually work with the same kids or people that you work with and being able to talk about it and just, kind of decompress from it. Those are the things that I do to kind of make sure that I keep myself in control. And, I still work out from time to time, but, that's neither here or there.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, and one of the things that you notice Deshaun is saying is sometimes he just has to be alone. And I think that a lot of times, some people, we give out so much energy, but we don't know that we need to actually renew our spirit and just take some time to be still. I think that's where we can get a lot of clarity. So thank you for sharing that. And Doug, you are now home. Actually in Florida. Florida's probably been popping since the pandemic.
Yeah, they've been good down there.
No, but now you're back.
Jacksonville, I don't think they even acknowledge that COVID exists down there, to be honest.
It's wide open.
It's worse than Atlanta.
I know, and the Super Bowl is about to be there, so it's gonna be even crazier. So now you're in the country, you're back in the Carolinas. Yeah. So oh yeah, right. So how are you taking care of yourself, or how do you take care of yourself on season and off season?
Yeah, so I'm big into self-care. I'm big into self-care and I'm big into routine. So every Monday after the game, I do hot yoga. And I still do the same thing when I come back home. I feel like that's like the best thing that's really kind of, helped me stay, mentally strong is doing yoga, because, going in there and sweating and going in there and challenging myself. And at the same time, just having a chance to put my phone down and just kind of be away from everything in the world. That's something that really helps me. Like my brother said, massages help. And then really, my support system, that's really, what keeps me going. And then not only that, I'm real religious, so I like to listen to Joel Osteen, Stephen Furtick, T.D. Jakes, Michael Todd, and those are just some of the people that continue to put, good things in my mind. That way I can, stay mentally strong.
Good. And one of the things for my listeners, I do want you to pick up on all of this kind of community that they talk about. Both the brothers, they're talking about community is really helpful. And I think, growing up in America, we're a very individualistic society. And a lot of times we don't know how to ask for help. We don't realize we need help. And we try to do everything alone. And I don't think, life was meant for us to do it alone. I really think that, God wanted us to be a part of community. And I understand that it may be hard if you've never had like a positive, healthy community. But I do believe in NAMI, the organization that Doug talked about earlier, is one of those organizations that are across the country. And they have a lot of free resources just to get you started. If you feel like you don't have that community within your own circle, don't let that be a barrier to stopping you from getting what you need, right? Because I think that even though we're not where we want to be, I feel like we have everything that we need to get started. Yeah. And I think if we start to have that mindset, we won't only look at the barriers, but we'll also be able to open up our eyes to see the solutions. So you think that's fair to say?
Yeah. I really like that.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Especially
I tried to.
Yeah. You're definitely correct about that. Like, a lot of people don't understand how much like your environment plays a role into how you see yourself, how you view yourself, and just everything that you do, and the concepts that you create, the values that you carry. Your environment has a lot to do with that. So you hit that right there on the nail.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing that story. I think you're absolutely right. Like, it's going to help so many people understand that they can speak up, and that they're not alone. And I think nobody wants to be alone. And, even though AJ had so many positive people in his life, he got to the point where he felt alone. And then being stuck in our mind is a dangerous place to be. So if you ever find yourself feeling like that, definitely reach out for help, because there's a lot of resources out there. There's so many resources. This is my 280th episode. So I've had so many people on that have talked about all of these different things in different capacities. And so I do this because I want, I do this for people like AJ who didn't have that resource. And I'm hoping to help people be able to shift their thought process just by hearing somebody else's story. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing that I learned just being around these group of students that suffer. One of the things that they told me is that it may take trying out multiple therapists. Like, I always got some people that's like, hey man, can you recommend a therapist? And it's like they think they're gonna get the perfect one on the first time. And a lot of the kids told me no, they had to go through 5 or 6 therapists before they found the right one. And even it's the same way with medication. They told me it's okay, I can't just, the first thing that I try, it may not work for me. Just because it worked for you may not work for me. And I think that was one thing, or one big lesson that I learned, the difference in between AJ's situation. We were hey, we have this therapist for you, and he didn't really vibe with that. And it was well, why aren't you listening with the therapist? How can you not identify and talk with this person? And then it was the same way for the meds. It was the meds really didn't make him feel comfortable, and if it made him feel so drowsy and out of it that it wasn't no point in him feeling he didn't feel like he could live, because he was just so out of it with the meds. And it's you got to try multiple things. That's what I'm saying. I just try multiple therapists, try different things, try different self-care techniques. So don't always give up just because the first thing you tried didn't work.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the things, I used to come on Periscope before the podcast and just talk about mental health. And I think that because I'm a therapist, I think a lot of people assume, oh, well, you're a therapist, so it's easy for you. And I said, therapist is my job title, but I actually still have to do the work. And that's what actually gave me the thought to have this podcast, to bring people on that are empowering other people, to show people other ways. I think I've been really into decolonizing what mental health looks like. I think our country is very much about the dollar, and only thing that's promoted is like psychiatry or therapy, right? So if psychiatry and therapy is not working for me, I feel like I'm doomed if I'm struggling, right? But if I do understand, like there's a lot of holistic ways, there's a lot of different things that can actually work. You talked about yoga, right? Like some people may hate yoga, but you figured out that's your medicine, right? It's not something that's prescribed, but it's something that you recognize that you need. And so I really want people to think about, if it's not working, that's okay. It's not the end of the world, but don't stop trying because what you're doing isn't working. It's important to try something different. And I feel like as long as we're still breathing, there's always room for change.
Like
Always.
that.
I be trying to hit them with the bangers, Doug. You know what I'm saying? I be trying to hit them with the bangers. No, but I'm extremely passionate about this. I'm consistently I share like parts of my story throughout, and like dealing with depression as a kid and not having a name for it, and then going to therapy, and then and doing the work. And I start to see, I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's a better way to live. Like I'm not in survival mode anymore. I'm living. So now my thing is like, I got to go tell the people so they can know. And so that's why I go hard. Like I'm not, because it's like, it's, and I want to say it's easy, but I think when you get into a system, it actually becomes second nature, and it feels second nature for me. But I do understand how hard it is to start. And so that's why I love telling the story from its infancy, so that people can kind of see the journey.
There you go.
I think that's important. Well, thank you, Middleton, guys. I appreciate you for coming on to the podcast and sharing the story. It was amazing. I know so many people are going to benefit. If people want to support the mission, where should they go? Yeah,
so you can go check out our website, dreamtheimpossible.org, or you can, follow our IG, dreamtheimpossible36, or I got a big event coming up with the Super Bowl, partner with the NFLPA, and we're gonna get on and just have like a table talk about mental health. So tune into that too. It'll probably be next week. The exact date is like February 3rd. Anything.
Yeah, I mean, he gave you all the resources to actually, come out and support and donate. We're always welcoming that. So, we appreciate you for allowing us to come on and, tell our story and to actually help someone. You never know who this may reach. So we appreciate that.
I appreciate you, VP. Thank you. I hope you guys have a good night, and I appreciate everything that you do.
All right, thank
you.
Bye.
So that's a wrap. That was awesome. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. We'll be back Thursday. And if you are watching this, just remember that this is going to be on the audio. You can find it streaming on all podcasting platforms. And I always tell people, like, if anything I ever say or my guests say resonates for you, like, understand you can make changes starting today. You don't have to wait for a Monday. You don't have to wait for the beginning of the month. You can really start today. I recognize that the missing piece to our changes is really us and making a commitment to change. So definitely like work on understanding that you have the power, but you just got to have faith to believe in yourself, because the thing about having faith and believing in yourself is that nobody can take that away, because it's an inside thing. All right, see you guys Thursday.